Hi, everybody. I'm Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games. And the guy waving at you right then was Michael Curtis. Here, Mike, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll go around.
Oh, okay. So I'm
Yeah,
Michael
you.
Curtis, Director of Product Development for Dungeon Crawl Classics and assorted CC stuff here at Goodman Games. So if it's got a CC involved in it and it's not medical, I'm in charge of it. So there you go. So, and I will pass this over to somebody wearing a Denizens shirt because, hey, because it's
Yes.
all about Denizens, right? No.
Yep. Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Doyle. I am the Director of Development on the 5e side at Goodman Games, and then I will throw it down to Matt.
Thank you, Chris. From my second work husband, my name is Matt Hildebrand.
Wait, who's first?
Mike's first.
Does that mean, well, where am I in this ranking?
You're divorced.
You're like the worst
Getting alimony,
mother-in-law.
apparently.
The work mother-in-law. I prefer stepmother.
kindly stepmother. My name is Matt Hildebrand. I am the art director for Goodman Games, and I have the pleasure of working with Mike, Chris, and Joseph all the stinking time. So,
and actually, I'm going to derail us from the script immediately because Chris's fashion choices have reminded me that we have an amazing t-shirt option that Lester just sent the design in for. So I will. So the purpose of this chat or this live stream is to talk about Denizens 2, which is an awesome book of hardcover monsters that we will be launching soon. And Elena, I'm going to send you the link to the t-shirt so we can show the t-shirt at some point because I just got this in from Lester and it looks amazing. So Elena, I'm dropping it in the Zoom chat and we'll bring this up in a sec. But welcome everybody. We are going to be launching Denizens 2 in about, what is today? Wednesday? About 2 weeks, I guess it is.
2 weeks from yesterday.
Days short of
2 weeks from yeah. Yep. And we recently released Denizens to stores. Excuse me. We have the two different versions, the DCC and the 5e, huge hardcovers. They've been very well received. All the US backers have them, and international is trickling out, and basically everybody loves it. And we did these amazing foil versions everybody loves on the reptile hide. And we've been working secretly without telling anybody on more monsters for however long it's been, 6-9 months, etc. As soon as we sent this book to the printer, we knew like it was going to be amazing, and we figured people would want more once they saw it. So the purpose of this live stream is to tell you a little bit about that book, but also about some of the other titles that are going to be part of the crowdfunding. We the project kind of evolved from just Dungeon Denizens to Game Master tools related to monsters. So we will talk through some of the other sort of Game Master related books that have to do with monsters as well. So I figured we'd start by just talking about an overview of the products that are going to be part of this crowdfunding. And Elena, maybe you can show these on the screen when we do it. But we have, so remember, we just finished Dungeon Denizens 1, books printed, shipping out to backers, etc. Then we have Dungeon Denizens 2 for 5e, which is going to look awesome. And by the way, if you're not following the teaser page on BackerKit, go ahead and follow because there's going to be an early bird bonus for people who back early on. But Elaine, if you can show the 5e cover. Matt, do you want to talk about that amazing cover art by San Julian?
Sure. This one features amazing cover art by San Julian. And we, when it comes to San Julian, he's prolific and amazing and needs very little art direction help from us. But we did give him a couple pointers. We said, listen, some important elements inside this book are going to be kind of some familiar monsters like dragons. We need to have dragons if it's a monster book. We need to have giants if it's a monster book. There's going to be fae, there's going to be undead warriors, and he kind of took all of those little nuggets and mixed it all up into an awesome image that has a great green background, so our super cool red logo just pops against it. It really turned out great. And it's going to adorn the 5e version of Dungeon Denizens 2, which importantly, we decided is a Roman numeral 2 and not a number 2. It was an important design decision we made at some point, and I'm sticking by it. I still support it.
And this doesn't limit our ability to, on number 3, go back to being just a traditional 3, because that would make everybody happy.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it does. I'm picturing more like a 1980s slasher movie with three red stripes for version 3, but we'll see.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, we can cross that bridge when we come to it.
Can't wait for Dungeon Denizens MCXLM.
At that point, all the monsters are like blue cobalt, green cobalt, red cobalt. Like,
nice.
so, and actually, speaking of the number 2, we talked about when this is Dungeon Denizens 1. It's really cool, man. The reptile hide foil cover. But Matt and I were talking yesterday about how to work in the 2 on. There'll be new art for Dungeon Denizens 2, and maybe the 2 could be like fangs from a monster coming down the middle, like using that approach. The Roman numerals actually opens up some artistic possibilities too.
True story.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Bob says Dungeon Denizens 3D, the pop-up book.
Ooh. I like it.
Nice.
So let's show the cover to the DCC edition, and this one's by Doug Kovacs, fan favorite of the DCC world. Matt, anything you want to tell us about this art?
Yeah, similar. This one features a bunch of monsters that are going to be inside this book. Mostly, like you said, relying on Doug's talents to take things to the next level, right? There's a creepy walking octopus, like a land octopus on there. There's things with eyeballs that shouldn't have them. There's unicorn rat creatures about to stab said eyeballs. All kinds of cool stuff. And Doug's hard at work on the illustration for the limited edition for the reptile hide version this time around too. So we'll get to see more of his beautiful artwork on those covers.
That's awesome. And as Matt said, the art for the reptile hide edition for Dungeon Denizens 2 is in the works. So we don't have art to show off for 2, but what we do have. And I don't know if this will show in the camera, but if you've seen this in person, you can kind of see it here. It's got a texture to it. It's very cool. It has a grain to the leatherette. And we were just at a trade show last week, and so many people stopped by just to sort of feel the texture because it feels amazing. And I asked my printer loves me because I routinely send them emails like, can you guys do fur? So I asked them, I was like, can I get more reptile hides? So I have here a selection of samples of reptile hides that they can bind books in. Mike, you told me your favorite was the one called Thermogator,
yeah, or whatever.
Thermogator, which sounds like it should be a monster. This is Thermogator. That's the name of this texture. But we have a lot of really cool textures that we can choose from. So I think what we might do is like narrow it down to our top 5 or something. I don't know. And then maybe offer it to backers to vote as to what they think would, the different colors. Anyway, what they think it should be on. And it's never that simple because like not all, sometimes the thermo alligator supplier runs out of stock. Like there's always variables. So, but we can at least consider what the backers want and make that one of the, the top choices if the printer can still get it. Yeah, all these are super cool and I have lots of different options.
Nice.
Textures, if you can see all this. So anyway, so we're not showing you on the screen what will be the Monster Hide edition, but backers will get to participate once we have Doug's art and select what material it'll be.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
The only correct answer is Thermogator.
I mean, did we put a Thermogator monster in the book?
Not yet, but
I feel like at this point it's almost required.
Or maybe Thermogator is an X-Crawl monster.
It does have an X-Crawl vibe to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the advantage is you can ethically source a Thermogator from a Thermogator farm.
Yeah, I wonder, is this ethically sourced Thermogator hide? Like, I don't know. All right, let's show a couple other covers because in this cornucopia of Game Master options, the next book we're offering is How to Write Even Better Adventures. So we have a book called, actually I'll grab a copy, which is called How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck. And this thing has gone through 5 printings. It has been ridiculously popular considering it's not part of a product line. We don't really promote it that much. We don't run ads for it. And yet it just keeps on ticking. People love it. So we pulled together How to Write Even Better Adventures and reached out to basically a lot of our industry friends and asked them to write articles. So there's essays in here from a wide variety of people. You'll have your, your known, the people you know from Goodman Games. So Mike and Chris both contributed essays. Brendan LaSalle, Harley Stroh, a bunch of other people. But Mike and Chris, I'm putting you on the spot. But can you list off some of the other many sort of well-known game designers and adventure designers who contributed essays in here with offered their advice to fans who want to write better adventures?
Sure. I mean, amongst the Goodman crew, we have Ed Greenwood, some people may know him. We have Luke Gygax. We have Kenneth Haidt. We have Robin D. Laws. We have Kelsey Dion. We have Matt Forbick. We have Jerry Grayson. We have Alex Kammer. We have Rick Maffey, Phil Reed, Gene Rabe, Sean K. Reynolds, Stephen Winter, James M. Spawn, Brian C.P. Steele, Wally DM, Martin Bernicki, Taylor Hawk, John Hodgson, and Sean Merwin. I don't know if I said Sean's name or not. I kind of went out of order. But and there's so yeah. So we have more than 20 people contributing to this. And my apologies if I missed everybody by not going in alphabetical order.
That was a good recounting. Good job, Mike. You remembered
also,
everybody.
I have a list, you know.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great resource for adventure designers, game masters, anybody who wants a few good ideas on how to write even better adventures. So that'll be an add-on during the campaign. Actually, I think for some people it might be the main thing they buy because it's useful in addition to the Dungeon Denizens book. Then we also have the Flump's Catalog of Magical Curiosities. This book will be 5e only. Unlike the other ones that are offered at either system or How to Write Even Better Adventures, which is obviously systems neutral. But Chris and I were talking, and there aren't, in my opinion, there aren't a lot of really handy, great resources out there for 5e players to come up with really cool magic items. So, and it was Chris's idea. Chris sort of pulled together the concept here and came up with our Flump character, who's like the narrator. And by the way, this is not final art. This is the latest draft of the art, but it'll look even better when it's done. But Chris, do you want to tell people about the Flump's Catalog of Magical Curiosities?
Yeah, sure. So we again we were kicking around the ideas of like what would be a really cool book, kind of along the lines of Dungeon Denizens, and we came pretty quickly on magic items. So we reached out to all of the entire 5e team, and 22 of them responded interested in writing up a bunch of magic items. Which is great, and I've gotten all the magic items in, and we're starting the process of sorting them and putting them in their respective chapters and getting them edited up. And folks just had a great time designing these magic items. And like Joe mentioned, we actually have a host for the book, the Flumph. We were kind of stealing a concept from the old Grimtooth thing. We were thinking if we're going to have this book, we should have somebody or something or some aberration actually like host the book and kind of give its own take and musings in it. So we landed on a Flumph. We went through a whole bunch of iterations of different hosts that we could do. Bob Barker did not make the cut. But Drew Carey did actually make it till near the end. But we ended up with a Flumph because they're very recognizable in 5e, and they're just weird, and we love that, and we love the weirdness about them. So we have a whole backstory for the Flumph and everything that's going to be included in the book, and there's going to be over 300 magic items from all the different authors, and we're having a blast putting together. This is turning out to be a really, really fun project that we're working on in-house that there's just a lot of energy and a lot of passion about it, so we're hoping that the fans are going to love it too. So.
And as I recall, Chris, you were telling me, I mean, there's every kind of magic item represented, right? You got
yep, everything.
Yeah.
So potions, scrolls, wondrous items, rods, staffs, wands, rings, artifacts. We actually even got artifacts in there too. I asked each designer to develop at least one artifact. So there's 20 something artifacts in there. And again, it's going to be very similar to the Dungeon Denizens. There's going to be tables in the back that are going to, random tables to determine which magic items are in a horde, separating the magic items by rarity, by type. So we'll make it a very user-friendly book and add a bunch of different things on it as well. So it's coming along nicely.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, it's going to be really popular, I think. So that's going to be an add-on in this campaign, or again, some people might make it their primary pledge item depending on their interests and so on. And then I'm going to quickly rattle off the next couple ones. Sorry, Matt, do you want to jump in?
Just wanted to mention what we're looking at on screen right now is a work in progress. It's an almost finished version of this cover, so it's going to be even better looking by the time it's complete.
It looks pretty good.
It looks great.
It's pretty good for a work in progress. It'll look totally amazing when it's done. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And then we're going to quickly rattle off the next couple things because Mike's going to talk in depth about these later on in the show. But for DCC fans, we have a lot of additional options. The People of the Pit will be coming out in hardcover. So one or two crowdfundings ago, we offered Sailors in the Starless Sea in hardcover. Some of these sort of iconic adventures that we've published have now become really modern day classics. And many of them were first published, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. So People of the Pit has been out since I want to say 2012 or 2013. So it's been quite a few years. So we're going to finally pull together a hardcover edition of it. The hardcover edition will have bonus pages on the back, a lot of additional content. It's actually I wrote that adventure long ago, and it's based on a story by Abraham Merritt, or I guess loosely based on a story by Abraham Merritt. But Stephen Pogue, one of our artists, had actually illustrated the original Merritt story in comic book form many years ago. So we asked Stephen if we could put that in there, and there's some other stuff as well. So the hardcover edition of People of the Pit will be crowdfunding, and there's a foil variant. Doug, as usual, did an awesome foil cover. And that limited edition foil variant will also be an option. It'll have the same bonus pages, but have the really cool foil. I think it's 2 foil colors, if I remember right, Matt. You guys picked out
That's true.
the purplish and a green or a gold, I think.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah. So that'll be an add-on. And then we'll have the next Tome of Adventure installment, which are the hardcover compilations of our skinny adventures. That'll be DCC Dying Earth. And again, we're not going to dive into it here because Mike's going to talk all these hardcovers later on. But for DCC fans, the point is there's a lot of add-ons. We have to reprint the MCC core rulebook because it's sold out yet again. And it was Matt's idea to use fluorescent ink, and glow-in-the-dark ink. So I've been going back and forth with the printer, and they're sending me a sample because we're not clear yet. If we do fluorescent ink is obviously very vibrant. If you layer on glow-in-the-dark ink on top of it, I want to make sure it doesn't suppress the vibrantiness or whatever, make it less pop. So we have a sample that the printer's producing. They're going to put flow ink on one side and flow plus glow on the other, and we'll see how they interact. But this cover will definitely it'll be the MCC Demon Skull, definitely fluorescent, maybe even patches of glow ink if it doesn't interfere, which will look really cool. Then we have the Monster Alphabet. We don't have art for this. But many years ago, Mike, as well as a number of other writers, created the Monster Alphabet. Actually, Mike, tell me about the Dungeon Alphabet, because that's what led to the Monster Alphabet.
Yeah, so the Dungeon Alphabet was basically what led to me being where I am today. So basically, the Dungeon Alphabet was I guess no, it predates DCC, so it was 2009, I believe. So it was a basis of take 26 classic dungeon tropes. A is for altars, B is for books, B is for caves and stuff. So when you're designing a dungeon, you can go through this and say, I need a cool cave, and you can either read or there's a random encounter. And then that was the original thing, 26 entries, and now we're up to like 30 something because Joe was like, we're doing another printing, let's add 3 more letters. So so it's continued to grow, and it's it's been in print, it's been available for more than a decade now. So we did a continual line of other alphabetical ones, and one of them was the Monster Alphabet. And it's the same premise. It's like, A is for androids and, B is for breath weapons and such. So it's a system neutral thing because you can take basically any monster, 5e, DCC, and then you can, roll on a table or say, I need to make something cool about this. And, this dragon has a breath weapon, but it's a red dragon, but doesn't breathe fire. It breathes, flaming maggots or something. Because we lean into weirdness and stuff. So it's a very handy reference, and it can, no matter what, you can use it for basically any fantasy role-playing game. Use it for a post-apocalyptic role-playing game, a horror game. There's a lot of versatility to it. So it's going to be back with a brand new spanking cover by this Johnny-come-lately guy named Errol Otis. So we figure if we have to do a weird cover, Errol's the person to go to. So Errol's working on that right now, which is why we don't have that to share with you.
By the time it's done, it's going to be awesome. We've seen sketches and it's color rough, and it's going to be an awesome cover. And on that note, I have to show off some samples because we didn't mention the oversized aspect of this reprint. This is one of the printings of Dungeon Alphabet. We've done a bunch. I can't even remember which one this is, but this is a normal sized book, right? If you hold it up and it looks like a normal sized book. But the oversized component, we've done this many times with Judges Guild and Metamorphosis Alpha, but our German translator did the German edition of Das Dungeon Alphabet. And as you can see, their version is bigger than our version. And we got this, it looks super cool when we got the oversized edition. And they did a great job because it is a very art intensive book. So they did an awesome job of making the art even bigger and sort of just using the format to make a really impressive book. And this is what led to this conversation of, we're gonna have to reprint Monster Alphabet sooner or later anyway. Maybe we should do it in an oversized format. So this edition not only has brand new cover art by Air Lotus, which is going to be amazing, but it's going to be in an oversized format. I think it was 11 by 14 was the final specs we landed on with the printer, and it's going to be an amazing book. Yeah. So that's Monster Alphabet. And then lastly, there's a couple of floppy adventures or several floppy adventures being offered as part of this crowdfunding. DCC number 112, The Mother of Monsters. You can see the monstrous theme here. And later on, Mike will talk through the details of these. But DCC 112, The Mother of Monsters. Mutant Crawl Classics number 15, The Book of Monstrous Mutants. Again, keeping with that monster theme. 5th edition fantasy number 35, The Frozen Lair of the White Wyvern. Not to give it away, but there's a monstrous wyvern involved. And then 5th edition fantasy number 36, Revenge of the Rat King. And then finally, Elena, do you have that t-shirt graphic handy? Okay. If you can show that t-shirt graphic, Lester, the layout wizard, just sent in an amazing graphic that is going to be the t-shirt that we're going to offer. It has an awesome street vibe to it. And Chris's fashion choice today reminded me of this new shirt we're going to have. So hopefully by the time we get to the launch, we will hopefully all have samples and we can be properly attired for the launch of this campaign. But the shirt mock-up looks awesome, almost as cool. Chris, I don't want to put you on the spot. Could you stand up and show us the shirt you're wearing? Because that was from the first Dungeon Denizens campaign, and it was an awesome shirt.
It disappeared. It's a fine
We
line.
lost Chris.
Apparently, I can go to there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the Dungeon Denizens 2 may or may not grant invisibility powers. So
Yeah. All right, that was a lot. That was the all the stuff that's going to be offered as part of this campaign. We're going to now dive into the Dungeon Denizens 2 book itself. So I will hand the floor over to Mike and Chris to tell you about monsters.
It's a big old book of monsters.
Yeah.
So we have been working for the last year plus, I believe. Most of the folks who contributed to the previous Dungeon Denizens have contributed to this project as well. Plus some new folks. If you recall, when we did Dungeon Denizens the first go around, we actually did an open call for backers to submit monsters, and we're very pleased to announce that several of those backers have been invited to contribute monsters to this book as well. And most of the foes in this book are going to be geared more toward lower level play. There are some higher level ones in there, but for the most part, in 5e terms, we're talking CR 5 and below for the most part. And again, there are some exceptions in there because we wanted dragons, we wanted fiends, we wanted demons, devils, and all that. And there's only so many imps that you can develop that are less than CR5. But don't worry, we gave you 7 of them. So a lot of people when we did the open call for this, they just went in certain directions, and apparently imps was one of those directions. So and it'll be 350 plus monsters all said and done in this book. So it will be hefty. So
yeah, as Chris said, is for the DCC side, we were kind of shooting for the power level for 0 to 2nd level. In role playing is you tend to require more lower level monsters than you do require higher level monsters, and there's only so many times you can kick a kobold or a giant rat's butt before you kind of gets weird. So we do actually have dragons, so you can tackle it first level in DCC, or so the idea was to get more of a thing, but we a lot of the people who contributed to the first one came back. We asked a bunch of new people to contribute stuff, and it's been an interesting experience. To see the two, whereas the first book began as a 5e book and became a DCC book afterwards, this one from the get-go we knew we were going to do for both editions. So we kind of divvied up. We about half of the monsters was been by the 5e team, about half the monsters were by the DCC team. So it's interesting to see where people's design philosophies were, and and then interesting how do you adapt those design philosophies to the other side, and it produces challenges, but also produce some interesting results. So we think this is going to be if you enjoyed the first one, you will enjoy this one. So.
And I think Elena, you got some monster images to show, because Matt's been pulling in hundreds of painted images lately that look amazing. This is a full color book, in case we didn't mention that. Elaine, is there some monster art to scroll through on the screen? Cool. There we go. Yeah, and for those, I mean, I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably have Dungeon Distance 1, but it's a full color book, and every page is just chock full of amazing illustrations. I know some people prefer black and white. I love black and white art too. But with some critters, it's just great to see them in color because you can better visualize them.
Yep. And you'll be able to try before you buy, because we're putting together a couple sample monsters that backers can get a chance to look at when they follow the account and such. So we finalized that actually this week. So those will be available in less than 2 weeks. So there you go. So.
And that's a good reminder that if you back in the first couple hours, first 48 hours, I think it is, you get a free bonus monster, which will be in a, sort of a separate add-on. But basically, the earlier you get involved, you get the bonus monster. And actually, it's probably worth pointing out, with Dungeons Denizens 1, Kickstarter backers got a special book that had extra pages. I got to grab my copy here, but the stores edition has the yellow blurb. The backer edition has the black blurb that says Kickstarter edition, 550 monsters plus 20 exclusive bonus monsters. There's an extra, in printer terms, it's called a signature, but there's an extra signature of 16 pages sewn into the back. So if you back this project, your crowdfunding edition will have bonus X number of monsters, still working out the details, but at least 16 pages, if not more, bonus monsters in the back, which is a good reason to back early.
This was going to be a hard one to answer, but someone in the chat asked the panel a question. What are some of your favorite monsters from Dungeon Denizens 2?
Yeah.
Chris or Mike, do you have favorites that you've seen come through?
I have lots.
Too many to answer. Chris, are yours aquatic in some way?
Oh, you know it, man.
I do know it, yeah.
So one of my favorites is the Tentacle, which is basically a seagull crossed with Cthulhu. I mean, it's disturbing, but it's cool. And
cool.
Yeah, and of course, it lives on coastlines, so it kind of, it dips in the water to live in thingies.
Nice.
So anyway, that's one of my favorite. So
that's cool.
I will say that I won't pick a favorite. I won't pick a favorite monster, but there are, I think, 3 monsters available in that, which have a theme, which was all done independently.
I think I know where he's going with this.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
You could build the most dangerous tavern experiences in your life with these guys. You might be sitting down after your adventure and find yourself locked in combat with a killer soup, or you could be dealing yourself with like an evil doe. There's a lot of fun stuff here.
Totally
actually, Mike, if you didn't, when we do the appendices in the back where it's like, creature by terrain, like jungle, mountainous, it sounds like we should have an entry for tavern, which is the terrain type, if I'm hearing this right, and we should.
Well, we have an urban list. We've done that in the past.
Okay.
So there you go. Killer Soup was definitely an urban monster. Although it could strike in the campsite too. So yeah. But there's other stuff too. It's funny. It's like some of the monsters, they're good monsters, and we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I can see you using that and everything. And then we'll get the artwork in, and the artwork just takes it to the next level. You're like, oh, that's even cooler than I imagined it. So it's one of those. It's and we're 350 different monsters, and the art is still coming in, but we have 100, 200 monsters already done at this point. So it's really hard to pick a favorite out from all that, because there's a lot of balls that we're keeping in the air juggling on this one. I'm like, oh, that's cool, and then immediately forget about that one because something even cooler comes along. If you haven't been looking on the Goodman Games YouTube channel, Chris and I have done short videos about at leleast 5 of the monsters now, and there should be more forthcoming. So after you're done watching this, go on the Goodman Games YouTube channel, and we can talk about some more of those. So,
yeah.
Good reminder.
But Matt, what's your favorite artwork monster that's come in? You know nothing about the stats, but you see the artwork on.
I do. I'm clueless about stats at this point. I feel like there's themes in here, right? It's kind of interesting that different authors will turn in a few monsters that seem like they're on the same theme, like you said. Horror at Cracker Barrel, for instance, to Mike's point. But
DCC 117.
Yeah, I
know. I feel like there's a few eyeball monsters in this one that are standing out, right? Like I feel like it's a talented artist who can make an eyeball monster look not kind of silly, but you get a good creepy eyeball monster and it's awesome. And there are definitely a few of them inside this book that I'm excited to show off. Eyeballs.
That's awesome.
Eyeballs. That's the answer. Eyeballs.
So I'm going to jump in and answer a couple questions from the chat. One
Great.
person asked if there'll be an option to buy the crowdfunding edition of Dungeon Denizens 1 as an add-on in Dungeon Denizens 2. That's actually a great question. So here's a little bit of a behind the scenes peek. Whenever we offer a Kickstarter exclusive, if we sell, let's say 100 in the Kickstarter, we have to print usually 105 to 110 because, as you know, the post office is not perfect. And if you're a customer who gets your Kickstarter exclusive in the mail and it got, rained on or crushed or lost, you want to get it replaced. So we always print extras, which are some amount, 5-10% gets used for customer service needs. And then, at a later date, we have some amount left over. Usually it's some fraction of a percent. So we do, actually, I shouldn't say we do. Not all the international markets have been fulfilled yet for Dungeon Denizens 1. It takes, the boats are still going choo, choo, choo across the ocean. Is that the sound boats make, actually? I feel like I might have read the wrong children's book last night. What sound do boats make again? It's not choo, choo, choo. It's
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's the reason why it's taking a little longer to fulfill, because
our boat went right to the bottom of the ocean. It turns out we got a train. Anyway, the boats are still going across the ocean to fulfill UK, EU, and Australia for Dungeon Denizens 1. And so we don't know yet how many postal damages we'll have or not. I mean, I guarantee there'll be some. The post office always loses something. So honestly, we don't know exactly how many copies of the Kickstarter edition we'll have left over. So it's going to be hard to offer it because I don't know if we're going to have 10 left over or 100 or 500. It won't be 500, but it might be some small number or some big number depending on the postal damages. So they probably won't be offered as part of the crowdfunding, but sometime like 6 months from now, we'll do them as warehouse finds. Or frankly, if you come to Dungeon Con, which is in May, our first live convention out of our warehouse, it involves a warehouse sale. You're welcome to shop the warehouse and buy whatever you find. Not including our desks and workspaces. So yeah, if we have any left over at Dungeon Con, you're welcome to pick some up. Then the other question was about the pawns. So for Dungeon Denizens 1, we offer this massive collection of pawns. Let me just add a book here for perspective. If you think like this is Dungeon Denizens, the book, which was huge. This is the pawns collection, which is like 3 times the width of the book. It has 570 pawns, I think it was. Which is insane. Yeah, 570 cardboard die-cut pawns. However, we have not fulfilled this yet. This is an advanced copy. It's on a boat. It's on its way across the ocean. It's going to land with Caverns of Thracia. It's on the same shipment. So Dungeon Denizens 1 backers who haven't gotten this yet will get it. And this point is probably 2 months out or so when it lands and gets fulfilled. So we are not going to offer pawns with 2 just because I feel like we haven't really shown them off what we did for 1 yet. If people love the pawns from 1, maybe at some future date we'll offer pawns for 2 or something along those lines. But it just feels premature to offer pawns for 2 when we haven't delivered the pawns from 1. And haven't, it's easy to offer Dungeon Denizens 2 because people got this book and they love it and they said, we want more. I feel like we haven't yet had a customer response to the pawns, so I don't know yet if they love them or not. And to the question here about doing the die cuts around the silhouette, that's a great idea. That's something we could definitely consider if we do pawns for 2.
I love that they're arriving in the same boat with Caverns of Thracia, because I have this image of all the monsters in Caverns of Thracia having to share the caverns with like 550 other monsters right now. And just really like, you guys have got to get out of here.
They're all stuck in a shipping container together, like bumping elbows. Yeah.
This is doing no good for our dungeon ecology. That's it.
Yeah. And yet, a question about the Chevron stickers. Yes, we do intend to offer returning backer stickers with Dungeon Denizens 2. So there'll be a sticker for Dungeon Denizens 2, and then some number of, we're sort of going to grandfather in prior campaigns, which we're working out the details on, but there'll be some sort of grandfathering in of if you backed this plus some number of other ones, you'll get those stickers as well.
Cool. And I think there's also a couple of questions about Dungeon Con, about its price and getting in, but maybe that's past the scope of this conversation. But I can see some interested parties out there.
Yeah, I'll do a quick. So Dungeon Con, there's a tabletop events page. You know what? Let me dig up that link and we can drop it in the chat. So your best resource is to go there. Most of the events are listed right now. I think Brendan still had to add 2 or 3 tables, something like that. But the majority of the events are now listed. You can look at them here. Elena, I'm going to drop this link in the chat if you can then drop it into the YouTube chat.
Already got
Perfect.
it.
All right, ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So badge sales go on sale this Saturday. And there's a technicality here. There's 2 kinds of badges. There's the warehouse sale and there's the badge to attend the con and play in events. There's no limit to the number of people we're going to let in the warehouse. I mean, there'll be some limit, but it's a high limit. So I don't think those will sell out. And if you buy an advance ticket this Saturday or later, you'll get to shop 1 hour earlier in the warehouse. We're going to open it up an hour early for those who pre-reg. Because frankly, we need some sort of crowd control. This will help. We anticipate a lot of people. So pre-reg, it'll be $8 if you pre-reg for the warehouse sale. If you're lucky enough to snag one of the 96 badges for Dungeon Con proper, you will get to not only go to the warehouse sale, but also play in the games. There'll be a grand total of 96 seats at Dungeon Con, which was carefully calculated because we counted how many tables we could fit in the warehouse between the ballots and how many seats we could fit around those tables. So that is exactly the number of tickets we're going to sell. And if you buy a badge, you get 1 ticket. So you get 1 event, either a morning event or an afternoon event, and then shop the warehouse sale, get autographs, do other stuff around the edges of that. How much for the play badge? I don't want to quote the number. I think it's $40 if I remember correctly. But then tabletop events adds like a couple bucks in fees or something like that. So I believe it's 40 plus $2 or $3 in fees, something like that. All right. Now flipping it back to Dungeon Denizens 2. Why don't we talk a little bit about how to write even better adventures? Chris and Mike, I know Mike, you already rattled off a lot of names, but maybe we could just talk for a couple minutes about what all's in this book, some of the essays, the contributors, stuff like that.
So yeah, I mean, so obviously you folks recognize most of the names that are contributors, but we asked the individual contributors to kind of develop their own list of topics, and then they sent them to us, and then we tried to make sure that there wasn't a whole lot of overlap, which worked, and it didn't work in a couple of parts because a few people kind of had the same ideas they wanted to work with. But so there's going to be almost every contributor's got a completely different topic they're going to talk about. We've got topics on villains, we've got topics on traps, mystery, adding mystery to your adventures, play testing. So we have a dungeon ecology essay in there. So, and what's really cool about this is you're going to get the essay, but then we asked all of the designers to what we call, it's funny because we didn't even know what to call this. We called it something else because it's really anything. It could be a flow chart. It could be a piece of art. It could be a new monster. It could be, oh, I forgot to say that there's going to be monsters is going to be one of the articles. And I've seen that article. It's amazing, actually. And there's some new monsters in that as kind of the something else. So you're going to get the main essay, but then you're going to get this other tidbit of something that's going to actually kind of go with the essay to kind of reinforce what the topic is and everything. So, and again, if you're familiar with our previous version that we did a similar thing. In that one, we did the essay and then we did an encounter. And we made them all system neutral. So this will be a great book. If you play whatever RPG you play, out there, this is going to be an excellent reference for you. And it's been a blast actually putting it together, and seeing the essays come in. And the editor keeps responding back to me. I keep getting distracted because I can't believe I'm working on Ed Greenwood's essay. So it's fascinating. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Mike, about some that you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, this has been interesting because we purposely went into this one to get a wide variety of contributors. So we have people who have been, who are professionals, but they've been only working in the industry a short time, and then we've had people who have, literally decades of this. With the constantly evolving nature of the hobby and the industry, it's very interesting to get those, different viewpoints in as well. So, we also we asked them to basically make the essays as useful, not only for your own, if you're looking to break into the industry, you're looking to do this professionally, but also just for your local group and stuff. So you're going to get a wide variety of of not quality, but covering a lot of different ground, like things to concern about if you're actually writing something that you wish to submit for commercial release versus something you're doing just to keep 4 to 6 of your friends entertained around the table. So yeah, I mean, I've been reading the essays that come in. I'm still learning stuff from this. So that I think that's the biggest thing that I can say in the plus category about this is I mean. I've been playing since 1980, and that's like, oh, that's a great idea. And from some of the stuff of some people who have not been, who are much younger and have only been doing this stuff, like I did not consider that. So so it's I know no matter what your level of expertise, you'll be able to take something away from the book.
And it's for me, it's exciting to be able to work with some of these folks. There's just amazing talent in this industry, and having the chance to host an essay by some of these talented authors is amazing. I will say we were emailing with Ed Grinwood to get his like blurb and bio and stuff, and his blurb mentions the fact that his books have sold over 60 million copies worldwide, which is just like mind blowing. Like we all know his name for a reason apparently because we all collectively bought 60 million copies of his books. And there's one other name that I'm gonna say we didn't mention, but Steve Jackson, like the Steve Jackson of Steve Jackson Games, has agreed to contribute an essay too. I ran into him at a con and he said sure. So we haven't actually gotten his manuscript late. Freelancers, they're always late, but when that comes in, we'll officially add that to the list once we get the essay as well. But it's just super cool to be able to work with Steve Jackson or Ed Greenwood or any of these folks, and to be able to host their work in our book. That it's really a privilege and an honor and pretty exciting.
But technically, he's not the Steve Jackson. He's a Steve Jackson because there are two Steve Jacksons in the industry. So we have to make sure we're dealing with the right one. Maybe that's why it's late.
We'll take one from either.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know which one wrote this, but here's an essay by Steve Jackson.
That's the deal. That's the something extra. You have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like we should check for ID. Be like, are you the American one or the British one? Yeah. Yeah, either way, it's pretty cool. So this will be an amazing resource, I think, as Mike said, for if you're just doing it for you and your table group, or you're going pro or have gone pro. Either way, there's a lot of great advice in here, a lot of great resources. And actually, to jump into a couple questions from the chat, somebody asked if there'll be a new slipcase for Tomes of Adventure 5 through 8. Really funny you asked that. We were going back and forth. I finally decided not to offer a slipcase because the logistics of offering a slipcase when you don't print the same books inside it at the exact same time get really complicated. They take up a lot of space. They're hard to ship. They can get crushed easily, etc. But if there are a lot of people who really want a slipcase, shoot us a note. Maybe we can work something out. I don't know. I personally love slipcases myself. And if you happen to be one of the people who bought the slipcase for Purple Planet number 1 through 4 without number 1 in it and brought a first printing of number 1 and it didn't fit, I'm so sorry. There are always tolerances involved in printing. And I haven't actually measured anything, but either the slipcase was 0.5 millimeter too tight, or the book, came out 0.5 millimeter wider than the previous printing or something like that. And I was trying to do everybody a favor, and clearly it did not work. So we have a solution for that. Email info@goodman-games.com, and we have something we think will help you out. Does the new book contain the older material? No. So all the material in this book will stay in this book, and then How to Write Even Better Adventures will be fully self-contained of only new material. Good question. All right, before we run out of time, let's jump over to the Flumps catalog of magical curiosities. Chris, if you want to talk a little, we already talked a lot. Maybe we covered it all, but if you want to share anything else about that one or talk about some of the specific items inside or so on.
Yeah, so just that again, it's one of those things where almost like you can't have enough monsters, you can't have enough magic items in your game. And again, and it just spurs on the creative process of reading different new ones and how to apply them in different circumstances. And the artifacts are great because they're going to be fully designed and they're going to have like the whole backstory and everything. And like I said, we added the Flump as the voice of the book. We think folks are really going to get a kick out of that. So just kind of like Grimtooth used to have his own musings and kind of his thoughts on a particular trap and like how a perfect way to separate PCs from each other, literally and figuratively. But the Flump's going to do the same thing. It's gonna kind of look back into like where the item was found, this history of the item and maybe some other alternate uses of the item. And we challenged all the designers to come up with other bits and pieces. New monsters will be in here. New spells will be in here. Adventure hooks so you can use them. There's going to be a section of general adventure hooks at the beginning of the book, but then throughout the book, when you get the occasional individual magic item, there'll be an adventure hook that you can kind of drop into your campaign so you can introduce it to your characters. So we're like I said, we're really excited that the passion, we don't normally get the passion of and the excitement on a project where we're working on it, and so many folks when they sent their magic items in over this past weekend, that's when the deadline was, they were so excited. And they were like, I would do this again. It's like, I'll design more. And it's like, let me know if you need more items. I got a bunch of ideas. So we're so excited about this. It's a little bit of a different project that we're working on, and we're hoping that it's going to be a good one. So
It'll be popular. I'm surprised we haven't had in the. Oh, there it is. Will there be a magic item book for DCC? I was waiting for that question.
yeah.
So yeah, sometimes we try out new ideas. Like we haven't done them. I don't think Goodman Games has ever done a magic item book.
No.
Definitely not in the last. I don't think we have. So this is kind of like a new idea to try it out. If there's a lot of interest in this, and the fans demand the DCC edition, then maybe somewhere down the road we'll either convert it or offer some equivalent option for DCC. But think of this as testing the waters on new ideas, and you tell us with your enthusiasm if it's worth it or not to expand on this concept.
I'd say by the same token, I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but I feel like there's a minimal amount of mechanics inside this book, right? It's mostly interesting items, flavorful text, like you said, some hooks, some monsters, and all of that you can use on the DCC side, right? There's no
Good
content
point.
here that won't be appropriate to
Yeah.
port over if you decide to, for sure.
A solid GM will have no problem taking any of these items and DCC-ifying them, if you will. So
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm reading in the chat. Yeah, we're not going to do a whole book of mustaches, folks, but a few more would be funny.
But we might have a special edition of this cover that does have a Flumph with a mustache. We'll see. It might be foil as well. We'll see.
Especially if he's making some kind of clandestine deal to purchase a magic item on the black market, and they don't want him to notice.
Right.
The mustache should be perfect.
You can't tell it all because of the mustache.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that merchant was just 3 Flumps in a coat.
Exactly. And Michael David Davis, what if you're just a mediocre GM? What if you don't have the chops to do the conversion? I guess, yeah, I don't know. You gotta look.
That's when you buy How to Write Even Better Adventures and become a better GM, so that then you can. But you might want to buy both books at the same time, just so that you have them, just to be safe. So
nice.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So I'm glad to see in the chat and hear this enthusiasm for the idea of a DCC magic item book. I mean, if the 5e version does well, there aren't necessarily flumps in DCC, but like we'll figure out something to address that for the DCC.
I'm sorry.
I know. Actually, so also on the Thracia boat, do I have my sample here somewhere? Here it is. Is the second printing of the DCC annual. Because DCC has been around since 2012, which is 13 years. So, once every 13 years, we do an annual. This one's actually cool. I think that was your idea, Matt. There's spot gloss. You can't really see it here. Maybe you can. Anyway, the cover turned out awesome. It's a matte finish with spot gloss and some of the key elements, which is different from their first printing. But, maybe we do another volume of the annual, and that has in it a bunch of magic items similar to the magic swords that were in here, and then assorted other content like mustaches or whatever. But that might be a place to scratch that itch.
Nice.
I know what I'd like to do, but
what would you like to do? Or should we talk about this in public, or is this like a private conversation?
I mean, going with DCC randomness is, I think, that the way to do a DCC magic book would be something along the dungeon alphabet or the monster alphabet or something like that. So rather than
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
It would be guidelines of how to make something, or okay, I take this factor,
so years ago,
write this down.
I had this list of all the alphabet books we could do years ago, and I was thinking about this a lot. But the treasure alphabet seems like a really natural approach, and that could, tables of magic items.
It won't
be
part
for +1.
It won't be part of the crowdfunding, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But maybe down the line, that does sound cool. That could be awesome. Yeah. All right. So we've got off track enough. Let's circle back. Stay on target. There's a couple other comments or things to discuss. Sorry, Chris. Anything else on flumps before I change the topic?
Nope,
Flumps
I think we're good. We can close the book on flumps.
Okay, kabam. Yeah, and Maddie Boom Batty just said the thing that's come up several times, which is new rulebook cover art for DCC. And actually, I skipped over that earlier because I forgot and got excited by the T-shirts. But yes, so we have quite a few new variant covers for the DCC core rulebook. and a new adventure in the back. And as Matt told me, sorry, first I got to give a fun fact about the DC4 rulebook. I have on my shelf here a bunch of printings, and at home I have every printing on a shelf, and it is staggering how many printings we've done and how many variant covers. Something that is fairly well known is that we threw secret messages into many of the printings and then swapped them out along the way, so different printings have different secret messages. Something that is not quite as well known is that we let Stefan and Doug redraw their art. They got better and better and decided at various points that they didn't never like that picture on page 14 anyway, and they're going to redraw it. So there's several printings in a row where Stefan redrew like 5 or 10 images, then redraw another 20 for the next printing, then redrew another 20 for the next printing. So along the way, a lot of the art swapped out, but it's typically the same artist redrawing his art from 5 years ago in the same spot. So the random pieces of art, I don't even know anymore what printings had what changes because I didn't keep good enough records. So random printings have random pieces of art that swap out along the way. So among the many amazing upgrades you're about to see is not just a new adventure in the back and a leather-bound option and an amazing new wraparound cover by William McCausland, but also, Matt, as I recall, Doug told you wanted to redraw yet another picture somewhere in the back.
Yep.
So there's some random page in the back that's going to have a redrawn picture by Doug.
Totally. Yep. A full page image that he decided he needed to redo. And I said, bring it on. That sounds great.
Yeah. So anyways, I'll now turn it over to Mike. Mike, if you want to talk through some of the new covers and all the different cool hardcovers that are coming as part of this project.
Yep. So right now we are. I currently have a list.
Okay.
That is to differentiate all the different hardcovers. But we're doing a reprint of the standard cover, and we're swapping out a new adventure for the back of that one. Marzio Mushedri did the adventure for that one, the Dawn of the Silver. Something, Day of the Silver Dawn. I don't remember off the top of my head. There's other things going on that. So we'll have that, so we have that one coming out, but we also will have the limited edition, which is the William McCausland cover. So for that is going to be it, but it'll be the same contents. We'll have the Marzio adventure, what have you, and the new art that we can't remember which new anymore because it keeps swapping out. But it'll be the standard reprint of it. But then what we're really excited about is the leather-bound cover of it. This is your high-end one. This is the one that put this on your birthday list. So this is going to be a real leather cover on it. We're having Doug do a new logo from it, which is I don't know if that's on one of the ones that are being displayed or not. I can't see anything, but it looks really awesome. For this one, we're going to go a little crazy on this one. We intend to have some autograph pages, some pre-autograph pages. You don't actually have to go around and ask for them. We'll provide the autographs ahead of time. So if you go to Dungeon Con, you see a bunch of us around the table scrolling. Don't bother us because we have to autograph like 500 pages or something like that. So we'll have that. We'll have a color gallery of like the various covers that we've done down the years. We have a lot of different plans on it. Maybe a checklist of everything that has been released for the DCC core line or stuff. But it's there'll be excellent photos. We'll be kind of covering like a photographic retrospective of DCC from the beginning and stuff. All the stuff is still we have to go through all our elements and figure out what we still have. So, we have to take some new photos too because there's some people involved in the company who weren't around in 2010, 2012,
whatever that was. Yeah.
Whatever that was. So,
and Mike, let me jump in too to tell people something even cooler. And this is partly to answer something in the chat, but we did a leather-bound edition before. It was the 4th printing, which seems recent to me, but was like 9 or 10 years ago. And it was extremely popular. And I was going back to look at the old records, and we sold hundreds of copies of it, which kind of blew my mind. And the game is only more popular now. So I think there'll be a lot of interest in this leather-bound edition. So we will print some for stores as well. But if you back for the crowdfunding, what we're going to do, as Mike said, is that some of us are going to sign what's called a tipped-in signature page. So it's going to be autographed for crowdfunding backers. We should probably set some upper limit just in case it blows up. But I don't know, first 500 copies or something will be autographed. And as Mike said, it'll come with the signature page inserted with each of us. Actually, this is not a facsimile. This is not a digital. We're going to be sitting around with cramping hands signing pages for a long time. Probably a Dungeon Con on like an assembly line table. But then someone in the chat said, what about a Peter Mullen cover? So we did a Peter Mullen cover like 10 years ago. So Elena, I'm going to drop here in the Zoom chat. If you can drop this in on the YouTube chat. So we have a feature on our website called the reprint registry, which is where I kind of sort of started writing down notes on which printing had what changes. And they're not perfect because I really should have taken better records. But it has a picture in there of the Peter Mullen cover from way back when. And I think, to Mike's point, the leather bound is going to have bonus pages, probably 16 or 32 bonus pages at the end that are not bound into the regular edition. So, Mike, based on this comment, we should totally do, like you said, a cover gallery of like all the different variant covers, just because it's amazing art and because people don't realize 10 years ago we did do a Peter Mullen cover and it looks awesome.
It's on the list.
Yeah, it's on the list. Okay, your list is invisible. You keep holding up the list, and it's like invisible.
I don't want to ruin the surprise. You know, I mean.
Okay, and then also the other thing,
right?
What? I didn't hear you. It broke up. So, and then also, slipcase. I want to put the leather bound in the slipcase again. Inspired by some of the books I own where they did a custom edition and a slipcase that looked amazing, because that way you get the color cover on the slipcase, you know, with some sort of color art. And I love that San Julian piece. I want to reuse it with the Wizard Pterodactyl and the leather bound on the inside. So there'll be a slipcase that's automatically included with the leather bound just to keep it safe. It'll also fit the William McAustin cover that's going to be offered. But just to say it out loud, every printing is slightly different, as we learned with the Purple Planet slipcase. So do not assume this slipcase will fit your previous printings. Paperweights change, printings have tolerances, etc. So we're going to put like giant disclaimer. This may or may not fit any one of the freaking mini printings we did before this, but it will definitely fit the two that are coming in this project. Cool. Mike, anything else to cover on those alternate covers? I feel like there's a lot to talk about.
Well, we did mention it very briefly with Tome Adventure number 8 for Dying
That's right,
Earth,
yeah.
which collects strangely enough 9 adventures, although it's 8. Although you know, it's 9 adventures. Basically, it's going to contain DCC Dying Earth 0 through 8. So so those will all be printed in one handy dandy thing with some awesome new cover art by Doug Kovacs. And as we mentioned as well, we have the People of the Pit. We have both with the hardcover version. We have both the classic cover, and we're going to have the foil cover. That one is going to include, as you said, we'll have Stephen Pogue's comic adaptation or graphic novel adaptation of the Merit story. The author is supposed to do like a retrospective, but he has been way behind on his deadlines and everything, and he's not returning.
That guy.
And I think we reached out to Doug. We might have some of like his sketches, working projects, and stuff like that. So there'll be definitely some additional material for that. So whether you want the regular version, the limited version, or why not both? You know, you can have those to your shelves as well. Those will not come in a slipcase though. They're too skinny for a slipcase. And then we also mentioned the MCC core rulebook. We were doing a reprint of that. And Matt, I don't know. I think you, because the contents are going to be the same. You know, we're swapping out an adventure. We're going to have a new one in there. New one. Oh, actually, Brendan LaSalle has a new one in the back.
Right.
But the cover is really where all the love is.
Yep. I think the plan is to reprint the usual pink Kovacs pink covers, right, that we're used to seeing, but there will be a special cover that is going to feature a variety of interesting inks depending on how those print samples come through and what we decide. But yeah, our intention is to give it definitely an MCC feel to the special edition cover.
And if I remember correctly, on the 6th printing, I think, of MCC, and Mike, you swapped in new adventures into the back of the book of the 6th printing, 5th or 6th printing. And this printing we're about to do has the same new adventures, so to speak. If I remember correctly,
it has one of the same. It has one of the same adventures. We swapped out that one, but I have we don't know where we're going yet, but we did want to provide some new content. So we have Brendan's adventure. We're like, let's put that one in there. So we have Brendan's funnel is in there, and then James Posnell's first level adventure is in there. If we go to another one, Tim Snyder's working on another replacement adventure. So we'll probably swap back and forth. Maybe sometimes it's both adventures, and maybe sometimes it's one of these same one. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
Okay, so there may be a new adventure in the back though, in addition to the cool fluorescent Demon's Soul cover.
There's definitely a new funnel in the back of it. So from those.
Okay.
True story.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then somebody in the chat asked, any chance of an MCC Tome of Adventure? The answer is yes. We're working on that. It'll come out later this year. Sounds like you want specifically Seeking the Posthumans. There's only so many adventures / pages you can fit in these, but good to know. Yeah. All right. So I was gonna. Sorry, Matt. Do you have something to add? I was gonna slightly change the subject. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it. I can tell.
I had an eye on the chat as well, and Bill the Butcher just threw out there DCC board game when? Question mark.
One of these
fine
days.
Question. Fine question. Yeah, exactly. I'll be excited to play.
Change course. I feel like we're doing great with the RPG. I don't want to divert energy from that. You know, it's really fun times right now with all the cool stuff that's being produced, and the third party community is amazing as well. So I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to shift gears.
Yeah, if you want a game that has one foot in the board game world, grab the yearbook from a couple of years ago that includes the Pits of Agartha game that Harley came up with.
Yeah.
Right? I think all the basics are in there to be able to pull off a hybrid kind of a DCC board game.
Yeah. So
anyway,
Elena,
did you change the subject?
Yeah, I want to answer something real quick. Elena, did you see that image I just dropped in? Okay. So Mike is right. The guy who wrote People of the Pit has not had time to write some sort of foreword or postscript or whatever to include in the hardcover. Partly because, anyway, there's all sorts of reasons, but my energy is going elsewhere. And I want to explain, I'm going to write an introduction to the Dungeon Con program guide, which I'm very excited about. And if you're going to attend Dungeon Con, you'll have the chance to buy one on the site. It's got a super cool cover by Doug Kovacs, Fortress of the Chaos Lords, as well as you've all seen Stefan's logo that actually says Dungeon Con. So, and actually, Mike, it's probably worth mentioning that Martin Bunicki actually wrote a new adventure that'll be in the program guide. So there'll be new content. So if you show up at Dungeon Con, there's going to be new content in the program guide that you can buy on site. And Matt commissioned this really cool map of our warehouse, but it looks, it's like fantasy DCC style map of the warehouse showing all the locations. And Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but the adventure is set in the warehouse as a fantasy.
It is. It's a Return to the Fortress of the Chaos Lords, I believe, off the top of my head, or it's something Return to the but yes, it is written, and it all takes place. Something has gone amiss at the Fortress of the Chaos Lords, and the party has to go and figure out what's going on with that. And we did this one in the same style as the 2-page Dungeon Delve, so it works for both 5e or GCC. Martin did a tremendous job of packing a bunch of stuff into literally like a 2,000 word, 250 word adventure or anything. It's like, it's like from one thing to another. So, you might actually even maybe get some of the Chaos Lords to sign, the adventure at Dungeon Con if you catch them when they're not working.
And actually, Martin's actually visited the warehouse because he's delivered gaming honors products there. So he is well qualified to creatively imagine or reimagine what that place is like.
Yep.
Yeah. But that is a long way of saying, Elena, if you could show that image, please. It's very exciting to me to finally have a convention sort of affiliated with Goodman Games. I've been going to cons for almost literally my entire life. My cleaning out some old stuff from my parents', basement, attic, whatever it was. I found some of my badges from the Atlanta Fantasy Fair that I used to go to when I was a kid. And I'm showing them on the screen here. Elena has them. The Atlanta Winter Comics Fair in 1987 and the Atlanta Spring Comics Fair 3. So I guess this was all late 80s when I was going to these cons. And at the time for Atlanta, it was like Comic Cons, and then the Fantasy Fair also hosted a lot of gaming. But anyway, I'm writing this introduction for the Dungeon Con program guide. So, Mike, that's why I'm not writing anything for People of the Pit. But when I finish this introduction, maybe I'll have the bandwidth to go back. But it's just really cool revisiting some of my memories that have been dormant for a long time and suddenly thinking about them in the context of running Dungeon Con and doing an actual con. It'll be a lot of fun.
All right, then I'll stop sending angry emails.
This
is linked to the printer.
I just keep writing back with excuses. Oh, yeah, lightning strike. We actually got that once for freelancer. Cut my thumb off. Cut the other thumb off.
You know what? When we do the how to write even better adventures in this one, we're
even more better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll just have one entry, which is just like a list, like a D100 excuses for freelancers, so they can roll on why they're missing their deadline this week. That's it.
I mean, my favorite is, which program guide was it? So Harley Stroh, as many of you know, is a skateboarder, and actually has broken a lot of bones, but actually was late. I should look up what title it was. He was late on some book because he legitimately broke his arm and sent me the x-ray. It's not like one of those hairline fractures. It was broken. So we printed that x-ray into some program guide, or this is why it's late. It was one of the more authentic excuses. I mean, there's a lot of excuses out there, but X-rays of broken arms. I guess Chris and Mike, we should just say publicly, if you're a freelancer who's laid on your work for Goodman Games, if you send in an X-ray of a broken bone, we will accept that excuse. We should put that in the contract, maybe.
Only if it's your writing hand.
Mm.
You can still
With your
write with a broken
offhand
rib. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right. So, sorry, Bill the Butcher. His mom broke her arm. Sorry. That sucks. All right. Anything, Metamorphosis Alpha. Basically, for those who don't know, Jim Ward was an amazing person in many ways, also the creator and owner of Metamorphosis Alpha, and he passed away, I guess it was late last year now, early last year, whenever that was. So that, caused certain complications with Metamorphosis Alpha and sort of selling the titles and so on, which is sort of, in the process of being worked out. But it's a really simple situation. Basically, unfortunately, he passed away and he owned all the rights, and that puts some things up in the air. But anyway, I think that's everything we had today. Anything we forgot to cover, Mike or Chris or Matt?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Cool.
More cool monsters to come. I know that.
Yeah.
Unless we want to dive into skinny modules. When we
Oh,
mentioned
did we forget to talk about them?
But we mentioned, but we didn't talk
Actually,
about.
we're already over time. Let's cover that on the next show. If you don't know, this time next week, we're doing another show, which will dive into some other stuff and give a preview of like the pledge levels and stuff like that. And then the show launches the Tuesday later after that. But yeah, good call, Mike. We'll cover that in the next show. Just because we're running out of time here. So thanks everybody for coming. If you haven't already, please follow the teaser page. I think Elena can put that in the chat. And remember, if you're back in the first 48 hours, you get bonus monsters. Oh, and on the next show, let's talk about Advanced Advantage. There'll be another Advanced Advantage playtest as well, playtest pack. There's all sorts of bonus stuff that'll be especially rewarding if you back early. And we'll cover all that later on. But I think that's it.
Sounds great.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks, everybody, and see you in a week for the next show.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.